Hey everyone, it's been a while. This is your host Philip of the Thodcast, and I thought it'd be fun to make our grand return on the Thodcast be this new film from Disney Pixar, Onward, and my brothers and my discussion regarding the film. And so we have this episode to present to you, but I was planning to release it, shortly after the film was released in theaters, but with all the coronavirus craziness, I've decided to push it until now, where the film is actually available digitally for purchase, and then it's coming to Disney Plus on April 3rd. So if you were unable to make it to the theaters to see Onward, you can check it out now or very soon in the comfort of your own home. In the meantime, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Without any further delay, well, should we just say onward? Oh, hey, we're back. This is a new episode of the Thodcast, conversations about animation. What are we up to? Like 48, 49? That's who cares anymore. Um,
I never count these things.
Uh, this is your host, Philip Elke of the Thodcast, conversations about animation coming to you from Hollywood. Today I'm joined also by my brother in Minnesota. Hey,
Not Hollywood.
all right. Dawson, thank you so much for coming on and talking about the 2020 Pixar's Onward.
The winter
Yeah.
season debut of Pixar, because they've got more coming, if I am to understand correctly.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it's good to be here to talk about the newest Pixar film.
hmm Round one of Pixar for the year 2020. And yeah, the movie is quite the exciting subject matter, shall we say. It's fantasy themed epic in the signature Pixar computer animation aesthetic. And yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. We'll keep it
I've
fairly
been
brief.
looking forward to seeing this film ever since I heard of it because of the fantasy themes and premise.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's I guess it's sort of Bright meets Weekend at Bernie's a little bit, meets The
Yeah.
Goonies.
And I still haven't seen Bright. I love
Oh, yeah.
the whole conceit of Bright is something I love with all my heart. A modern world with fantasy elements.
Mm,
Apparently, Bright is terrible. I do want to watch it just to actually see what someone tried to come up with. So I was thinking that the whole time that this is exactly what Bright was trying to do to a degree, probably a little bit, and this much more successfully. I would assume.
well, I really enjoyed this movie. It was a whole lot of fun. I don't know if it's, in my top 5 favorite Pixar movies, but, it has some of the most powerful moments of any Pixar. They've certainly brought the waterworks in this film, which I appreciated.
Yes, numerous feedback from friends and people who I've heard attended this film. Everyone's
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, I was crying. You got to go see it. It's so good."
I mean,
I did
aesthetically, yeah. It
not.
doesn't have the guise of a movie you expect to go in, you don't expect to come out feeling super emotional. Uh,
But anytime you go to a Pixar movie, you should expect to come out feeling emotional. And in the trailers where
yeah,
they show them like, oh, they're trying to bring their dad back to life, but they only get his legs done. It's like, oh man, what kind of wild emotional ride that I could not possibly predict is this thing going to take me on? And it
yeah.
definitely takes you for a literal ride.
It's about driving. It's about, driving lessons. I don't know.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, the character follows 2 brothers, and they are orphaned at an early age. The main
Not quite
protagonist.
orphaned. They have a mom.
Or not orphan, yeah, sorry.
Are they
Um
bastarded?
oh, no,
No,
I
that's
didn't
not
wanna say
right.
that.
Pardon my,
Yeah,
that's not even a real word.
um, and Yeah, there I mean, it's pretty typical Disney trope of one or both parents being dead, even Andy, Davis's father, we don't know all the way from the beginning of Toy Story, we don't know where his dad is at. Um, so yeah, the main protagonists voiced by Marvel alumni Tom Holland and Chris Pratt.
Yes, who's
So
not a Marvel alumni at this point, but they do a really fun job. Were you did
yeah.
you see did it seem like there was a crazy age gap to you? Like, oh, Tom Holland's this, 18-year-old kid and
Mhm.
Chris Pratt's this 40-year-old man pretending to be a slightly older brother. Like,
I didn't. Yeah, the tone of Chris Pratt's voice didn't seem too unbecoming of like I guess he's supposed to be what, 19 or so?
yeah, he's out of high school.
Just he's taking a gap year, the longest gap year ever. Their mom, yeah, played brilliantly by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's
Mhm.
actually got her second major role in a Pixar film with this. She plays the elf mother Laurel in this movie, and then she was Princess Ada in A Bug's Life. Um,
Really?
yeah, didn't
Oh,
know
okay.
that. Mhm.
That's really
Um,
fun. Good to see you back. Does a
yeah.
great job. Everyone does a wonderful job. All the voice acting is.
Mhm. Great perform I mean, Tom Holland was incredible. I mean, he's such an incredible actor in live action, and I, don't think I've heard him in animation before, but he was in Spies in Disguise, which I did not see. Did you see that?
I did not.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't really know how to compare the 2. They seemed like really similar characters, the character in Spies in Disguise and then also, Ian in this movie, kind
Yeah.
of 2
Innocent,
really skinny.
ordinary boy with uh, a lot of heart and a lot of responsibility who feels a lot of weight, and he's able to find all that range of emotion.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
before
good
we get
good
into the
character.
characterizations a little bit more, I mean, I just want to talk about the general aesthetic of this film.
Yes.
And yeah, it's something that very much would appeal to me, the fantasy genre, certainly, with a little bit of a modern twist. Even sort of an 80s vibe is what I got from the trailers. It turns
Yeah.
out is not the alternate 1980s. And like the parallels between our human world and these alternate fantasy worlds is always a big question of like what they keep from our world and what what they change. Bright
Right.
had a big issue with that. I liked how they did it much better though in Onward.
In what sense?
It wasn't such a direct facelift, of our world. Like you couldn't
Yes.
place any of the.
Everything was a parody, which is
Mhm,
so. I mean, I kind of figured they were going to do that, but yeah, nothing was. No, none of the labeling and the branding was the
mhm.
same. Were you half expecting a licensed soundtrack though when going into this film? Because I
Oh,
was,
I
even though
was yeah, so
Pixar.
surprised.
Yeah, I thought we were going to hear a bunch of '80s rock hits for this road trip movie, and they didn't, and I kind of missed them. I was thinking about how they'd do it, which is they'd play like the songs. He'd have the
Mhm.
mixtape, he'd play them on the car radio. But every band would have a like parody name, and that the songs would have like parody titles or something, even though the songs would not change. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that would make sense if they used it diegetically, or they could just be, used in the soundtrack and be non-diegetic. I'm trying to check here who actually did the music for this. Was it Giacchino? It almost sounded a little Randy Newman-esque at times.
mm,
Music by Jeff Donna and Michael Donna, Danna.
Never
So
heard of that.
yeah, I did well. It had kind of a Pixar feel. But overall, I mean, just the cartooniness of it was maybe a little off-putting.
You're talking about the design, the style? Yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine taking a fantasy epic too seriously when you have these, cherubic sprites running around casting spells. They're saying these magic words in kind of a hokey fashion in the
Yeah,
opening montage, like Power Rangers or something. Like,
yeah, everyone looks very round, very rotund, very soft, very safe, very gentle, very cute. And that did I well, it didn't bother me because I just had accepted it because that's what Pixar's gonna do.
yep.
They're not going to, and even though I might want this, they weren't gonna go that sexy, angular route for fantasy. I mean, your main characters are elves. There's no humans at all, and they were dark elves mostly, drow as they're known in Dungeons and Dragons lore, with
Hmm.
the bluish tinted skin and hair ranging from white to or blue or and black, anything.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, no World of Warcraft night elf sexiness here. No. And I thought of, okay, so if they did try to do a little bit more like that, the movie just wouldn't sell, right? People wouldn't go because people don't go to movies that look like Arthur Christmas, right?
Um, well,
Because what was that movie about elves? Because I never saw it, but I always saw the pictures of this Arthur kid with good long Jack and Daxter ears, thinking it looked amazing. Like I loved
hmm,
that animation style, but I don't think anyone
yeah.
went, and I don't remember them. But
Uh, yeah, that had, I mean, kind of a similar style to uh, what you see from a Pixar. The characters aren't too angular. There's some beefy guys, some male elves in that film, but there's also, well, actually, the elves I don't think are beefy. The elves are your typical like Keebler elves, and it's like Santa and his kids. They're like the beefy dudes. um, I I don't yeah, I don't remember there being it's still pretty westernized animation with, big round eyes and such. Yeah, I feel like,
oh,
yeah,
I
I don't
okay.
know.
This That's not Arthur Christmas is not the right movie then that I'm thinking of.
Um,
Wow, I'm so dumb. What am I'm
Arthur
thinking of?
is Klaus, I mean, Arthur
No.
Christmas. Doesn't is the movie you're thinking of, sort of an anime type more
It's
so?
called Arthur and the Invisibles.
Oh, Arthur and the Invisibles. I don't even know what that
That's
looks like.
the one. Yeah. At least I'm pretty
Hmm.
darn. Hold
Okay.
on. This
That
isn't even right
that
either.
movie looks like Strange Magic
Yeah, and
with
that's another example of the
the
style.
Uncanny Valley style. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you really want to maybe look more to anime if you're thinking about like a traditional depiction of the modern fantasy, you know, in animation aesthetic.
right.
Where you do want to have a little, sexiness to your characters. You want to have that the edginess. Um, I don't know, and I think Disney Animation proper, Walt Disney Animation Studios does a pretty good job, um, sort of with just having really super appealing characters. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, Pixar, I don't know, they do have I think they don't quite have the same mastery of like the really appealing eyes and just like proportions that Disney animation does. But they make up for that in the characterizations and just the storytelling, certainly. Because yeah, Pixar, I mean, they came from the direction of just the technical side of building whatever they could using the limited means of early computer animation, and their sort of aesthetic evolved from that. Whereas, with Disney, they toiled, endlessly to make Tangled ultimately was the one that was most closely trying to emulate the hand-drawn style of like the Disney Renaissance era that
Mm.
was so appealing to people. And Pixar, with Brave, there's a there's such a long
Yeah.
distance between how Merida looks in Brave, and then like the modern Disney princess look in CGI. But all that's just a gradual evolution, you know.
Right.
But all that to say that yeah,
There's a big and this big difference that exists between like video game animation and movie animation, isn't it? You mentioned
yeah,
anime, of course, as achieving that kind of sexy, edgy, angular look, but video games too. They do the same thing.
yeah, yeah,
Final Fantasy style,
mhm,
which is emulating anime. So, yeah,
yeah.
really interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, I've been watching Dragon Prince and noticing some parallels as well. We talked about Dragon Prince on a couple Thoughtcast episodes, and I would like to talk about the new season too if you get around to watching
Oh,
that.
I'm
And
so bored just
you
thinking
didn't
about
like it?
Dragon Prince.
Oh, it's great. This new season is actually really exciting. There's so much more vibrance. Like they're exploring Zadia, the magical kingdom, and like everything's just so really gorgeous and
I
vivid.
hear there's a nonsensical plot about Ezra that makes no sense.
Kind well, it's sort of nonsensical, but also,
So that
um,
was the show, so it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. But we probably shouldn't diverge too much into other film
Oh, we
territory
yeah,
because
sorry, and we yeah,
no,
we
that's
can't
fine.
go on too much longer, but because we don't want to spoil this movie too much. There will be some spoilers, but towards the end of the episode. Um,
Yeah. Well, let's
yeah,
go through your notes here and find
let's see.
the topic. You said barley's better than Marley.
So well, I think when I first heard that character's name spoken, Chris Pratt's character, I heard it as Marley. It's like, oh, what a typical name for a character. It's like,
Yeah.
he's named after Bob Marley, famous, rock
Marley.
star from
Yeah.
Yore. But no,
Scrooge's
Barley.
business partner. Barley, yeah, barley
So,
was great. It evokes an older world, brewing and monks and beer and
yeah.
boisterousness and jovial joy, which he was full of. This great character,
Hmm.
Mr. Barley. But I
Hmm.
had a hard time understanding what they were saying too for a little while, and had trouble remembering names in this film.
Yeah. Um, he's a quest master. Um, and yeah, I don't he's wearing a cast. That never seemed to can't come into play in the film, actually, did
He
it?
is.
Yeah, yeah, on one of his hands, it's on his, left hand. I think
Maybe I
I
just saw it as the like knuckle finger glove,
it
fingerless
looked
gloves.
like yeah, just like a fingerless glove, but, if you look at it, it's clearly a cast. It's got some writing on it. It's like a black hat, and then on the opposite hand, he has the, leather strap with studs on it. And he's
Huh.
wearing this beret. It's kinda cool. He's got
Yeah.
the cut off sleeve denim shirt.
Love his denim vest. Love all the little patches on it with band names. I love the band name Smote. That's
Smoke.
so epic.
Mm.
Conjures up when Gandalf says he smote the Balrog's ruins upon the mountainside. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
really great pull. So many fun fantasy pulls. And you mentioned he was a master, which is a reference to uh, a quest master is the dungeon master of the Onward universe's
Quests
uh,
of Yore.
Quests of Yore. It's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's Quest of Yore, historically accurate role playing game,
Mm,
which I loved. All of the love letter being written to role playing games and Dungeons and Dragons in that era, and the community who play games like that.
mm,
Um, it was you could tell it was made. This film was made by people with a love of all things fantasy who had probably gathered about the role playing table, telling stories of their own. Um, and yeah, the role playing ethic when you play a game like that.
mhm,
Thinking about real life and the storytelling life, and why do we tell these stories together, why do we make up these fantasy worlds, and why are we so excited about things like magic, and why do we feel this sense of loss of wonder in the world that we try to recapture with our imaginations, with the books we write, the movies we make, and stories we tell together. And this movie addressed all of that, but set it within a world where all that fantasy, magic, and wonder was in fact true history that had been forgotten. And it may as well sometimes myth and folklore in some senses may as well be true history in our world. At least I think it has the same power and the same value, and human beings certainly feel the same strange attraction to it.
Hmm.
The strange magic. There's
Yeah.
referencing that film again, but
Or the
yeah.
song.
Or the song. Oh, that's right. Is that the
Um,
name of the song that was in the preview for this movie? Because going back to the license, I don't know 80
Strange
songs well.
Magic.
So
That's a ELO song. The in the first trailer for this, they actually use a great song by the Cars.
yes.
And the Cars have been featured in Pixar before, naturally. But
Okay.
the
Oh yeah,
song,
Cars did use license. They had Life is a Highway in the beginning
yeah,
of Cars, so yeah, it's not unprecedented.
I think the second movie had "You Might Think" by the Cars, but it might have been a cover by like Weezer or something.
Okay,
uh,
there's a really good chance it was a cover by Weezer.
yeah,
W-
but yeah, the Cars song "Magic" such a good song. They should have
Ah, I
used
was
it in the movie.
expecting to hear it in the film, like
Mm.
100%, and other
Um,
things like it. But
Yeah, yeah, they have, smartphones in this movie, which is the biggest
mm,
kinda telltale sign that it's not supposed to be set in the '80s. Um, but other than that, yeah, yeah, the Burgershire restaurant, which is a very '80s aesthetic.
Burgershire.
But, so Ian, yeah, he's an awkward kid, and I don't know, so he's the one who's actually capable of performing magic. He is bequeathed his father's staff upon his age of manhood, which is 16 in this world. I kind of liked how that was a departure from like our, human
Yeah.
American culture.
And it's much more in line with fairy tales and folk tales. 16 is such an important age in fairy tales.
Hmm. Yeah, so he and Barley share the staff, but Barley spends so much time trying to do this incantation to bring the father back for a day. It's kind of an interesting idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Never
He's the
thinks
one.
to let Ian try it for like 9 hours.
Well, it's just this interesting the Wunderkind phenomenon, or as Max Landis infamously has now been retroactively attributed the term Mary Sue. Um, Ian instantly is capable of performing magic fairly adeptly, and like even by the end of this 24-hour period, is capable of doing some fairly advanced stuff.
Yeah, well,
Um,
they explain that it's some magic is something some people are born with and some people aren't, and that typically most magic is very difficult to master. And we do see him struggle and fail with a lot of magic throughout the course of the film. But then, and it's particularly getting in touch with his heart's fire, a
mhm.
really fun concept. But then, yeah, we do get to a point, a fairly emotional point, where all the gloves come off and he finds his heart's power and seems to get a direct link to it. And then, yeah, he's able to perform some very powerful, it seems, feats of
Yeah.
magic. But
At least not like world-ending stakes either.
no,
You know,
yeah,
but the inciting incident is him bringing back the father. Something goes wrong. This with what is it, the Phoenix Gem or whatever it's called,
the Phoenix Gem breaks. Yeah.
breaks. Yeah, and yeah, it's only the the bottom half. We know this from the trailers. There's no torso on Wilden. Lightfoot is the father, and so if he has an itch in any unfortunate region, he's sort of out of luck. Um, but yeah, and it becomes kind of a weekend at Bernie's sort of madcap adventure. They you know they
Yeah,
need to
what do
find
they
another
do with their
gem.
dad's legs? Yeah, they want to try to complete the ritual, so that's the main thrust of the quest. Um, and yeah, how much do you want to talk about specific plot points? You don't want
Yeah,
to do spoilers for this
no,
one,
I
which I
mean,
think is fair. I mean, I don't know. We usually have spoiler ridden discussions, but if you kind
yeah.
of want to change that,
Um, I wanna I was asked or I was curious about, like, Ian. He's he seems like such a unfortunate misfire of a teenage kid. I mean,
Well,
in some ways,
they both were very
but
awkward
at
in
least,
different ways.
yeah, Barley seemed to have, like, a social circle, doing the
Of his
mis
D&D friends, which isn't much of a social
oh,
circle.
that's pretty
Um,
in depth. I mean, but yeah, it's like
yeah.
Ian barely knew some of these kids that he wanted to invite to his birthday later, and I mean, he apparently was in some what was it, a math club or a
Math
yeah,
science club, I don't know, math or science club.
AV club. I
Yeah,
don't
it wasn't clear if this was a new school or if they had been going there
know.
their whole life
I'm
or
assuming this is their childhood home.
I assumed it was too.
Yeah.
And maybe he was just moving into high school, but had been in like middle school and elementary school.
So that incident with that, um, oh, that Gorgon kid, in the
Oh
classroom who
yeah,
put his
yeah,
feet
yeah.
up. Um, and, like, there was also, like, a cute girl sitting next to that desk, so my assumption was he wanted to sit there specifically so he could be right next to this female classmate.
Oh, you wrote in your notes, "Cute girl cut scene." Is this a proven thing or a theory you
No,
have?
I it's just the theory I have that there was supposed to be, like, an interaction with him and a girl on whom he has a crush, but that didn't make it into the movie. It's just this little bit with the Gorgon kid.
That's a good theory. Yeah, they never had any a romantic interest characters of any kind,
Yeah.
which probably they took out or didn't have it in the first place to focus specifically on the brothers' relationship
Mhm.
and and their goals with for finding their father.
Yeah.
And their mother got some really fun screen time.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, she was a
was
big
she was
thing.
a central character, well, side supporting character, but essential to the story nonetheless.
Yeah, you had, the Colt character, what was his name? Colt Bronco or something?
Something dumb and on the
The
nose, yeah.
police chief.
A
Um,
centaur in a car, which is
it was a Ford Bronco.
was
Nice
it?
reference. Or it was at least patterned after one. Shoot, I'm not sure who plays that character. Let's see.
It sounded like
Um,
it might have been Ham, the
uh,
actor that they always
John
cast.
Ratzenberger. I was thinking
Yeah,
that too, just
but
slightly
then
adjusting his voice. Yeah.
didn't sound like him, and it would have been the largest voice role that I've heard him have, other than probably Ham, because usually he's just a cameo in the later Pixar films.
Yeah. Mel Rodriguez is the actor.
Oh, oh shoot.
He's I guess his top billing or his top entry here is Little Miss Sunshine. And then there's not a whole lot other super big projects. But anyways, yeah, there was that whole sequence, which was sort of a pivotal midway point where they're doing the disguise spell because the van gets pulled over. I can't even
Yeah,
remember why the van gets
the
pulled
two brothers get pulled over because of speeding
over.
and
Mhm.
road behavior on the road that is
Okay.
wild and rambunctious. So they get pulled over by the cops, and their idea to get out of it is to cast a spell, the disguise self spell. They
Mhm.
cast it on themselves. The two brothers both then become the core of this illusory image, which is stepdad, the centaur
Yeah.
cop, because their
Who
mom is
did
dating a centaur cop. So the
yeah.
brothers disguise themselves as a centaur cop, and then try to tell the police who pulled them over that, oh, I'm the teaching my boys here how to drive, and no problem, officer.
It seemed like an odd choice for this enchantment to require like absolute honesty or something while
Yes,
you're
they could not lie while they and I it seemed there were some weird requirements.
it's literally it's a spell disguised or it's a spell designed to deceive. So of course you're
But you
lying.
couldn't yeah, you're lying just by being there,
Yeah.
so you couldn't but you couldn't speak a lie, so which was
Hmm.
fun. I mean, it made for a fun scene.
Hmm.
Um,
But it did create that effective moment of Ian's true like opinions about his brother. And that's something that's I feel very relatable, kind of to how people who are very close to each other in proximity, family members and such, how there is like a lot of dimension and, and complexity to these relationships.
Yeah.
And the thought of these cops, kind of commenting on Barley being a screw up. He's got that glove compartment just chock full of
A parking
parking tickets.
violations.
Oh my gosh.
That was
Um, but and then yeah, Ian, the spell starting to become it starts to break because Ian has to pretend or that he does not see Barley as someone who's kind of on the wrong path.
and
And then yeah,
yeah, Ian might not. Ian might. It might be like Ian believes he doesn't believe his brother's a screw up, but deep down, that's where a lot of his feelings about his brother come from. They have a lot of feelings about each other.
yeah,
Barley is a such a happy idiot character, isn't he? He really just means so well all of the time. And there wasn't like one thing that wasn't in the movie that I was would have maybe expected. Then this tells you a lot about Barley as a character. Was that when Barley would have wanted so badly to have magic. He's pretended all his life he's been able to use magic, so he finds his dad's staff. He's so excited, and he's the one who's trying to cast the spell to summon his dad for hours and hours. And when Ian ends up being the one who can, there's never that moment of cheap drama and conflict where Barley's mad and jealous. Like, I wish I had magic. Like, how come it's you? Barley's just stoked for his brother the whole time. Um, Happy he finds out he has magic, and he's like, "All right, I'm going to teach you all the ways." And yeah, so not to say Barley isn't flawed. Like, it's just it's interesting. They're it's a different character dynamic. I don't know that I've seen recently.
yeah. I
Where
mean,
the
Barley's probably kind of a slob, eats and
Oh yeah,
drinks too much, and probably is kind of coarse. But he's got a good heart, and we really see that side coming out of him, at least from what we see in this movie. But there's probably a lot more to that equation. And yeah, I don't know. He's not like he's very courageous, but
really
maybe
confident, really,
foolhardy.
but foolhardy and foolish. Doesn't
Yeah.
always think.
The I guess one of my favorite moments was seeing his reactions during. We get a literal like leap from the lion's head moment in this
Yes,
movie.
from Indiana Jones. Oh my gosh, this scene. I know exactly what you're talking
Oh
about.
yeah.
Yeah, hit
Um,
the moment that thing happens and Barley's face changes, it's like, oh my gosh.
and that was because
I
like
didn't even process.
that it's not going to end badly. The scene. It's
Well,
a
it's not
kids
gonna end
movie.
badly, badly, but
Yeah, but just watching his reactions and as he, because like, yeah, if I were in that situation, I would be almost 100% convinced that it's going to end the wrong way.
yep, and I would be such a mess.
Yeah,
Everything would be my fault. It's all over. Like you
yeah.
just feel so hopeless, so utterly hopeless.
Mhm.
And the way he keeps going
He
is
just tries to
just priceless.
maintain the veneer. Yeah, th- that was a great moment, and then of course, yeah, you kind of have that climax at the end with Ian totally reconciling himself with like with his older brother and not having grown up with the father necessarily, but yeah, so that's all very powerful. I guess Wielden, yeah, the father, there's a touching moment with him too, but I really liked how that all played out ultimately. I'll just give a brief warning, like major spoilers from here on out. But we'll be wrapping it up here pretty quick.
Mhm.
But what did you think?
Well, I think
Yeah,
of what. Oh, sorry.
the fact that Ian he didn't get to meet his father ultimately.
I was surprised, but really loved, and I felt it made sense the way that they that came to be. Do you want to go into the sequence of events of as to what
Um,
happened, or
I mean, yeah, this is kind of the climactic. I don't know. That was quite the convenient crater of debris that saved Ian.
yeah?
Maybe that was just due to the magic spell. I don't know. I you just have to assume almost. Uh, but anyways, like yeah, he's stuck in this crater, only able to look out from a distance at
And
the
oh
spell.
yeah,
Thankfully, they're able to complete the enchantment because, like, at a certain point, the gem just kind of takes over, and it's just kind of does it does its own thing until Wilden fully manifests. And then when he does, like Barley's there, but Ian can't make it to
Ian can't be there. Yeah, and you compared that moment to you referenced a couple of other things in your
the,
notes.
yeah, there's some movies like where a major character, has someone who's really close to them that they're only able to like see from a distance during like a very significant moment in this person's life. I mean, even Barley like talks about in one of his memories of Wilden being like him being in the hospital room and Barley being too afraid to approach him
Yeah,
because
that was a
of
cool
the
revelation because the whole movie, you know that Barley has three memories of his dad, but then while they're sitting on a floating Cheeto, a giant floating Cheeto, he reveals that he has four memories
yeah.
that he never told Ian, which was a huge regret that he was too scared to go and say goodbye to his dad when he saw his dad hooked up to all the hospital equipment when he was,
Mhm.
which was wow, rough and powerful. And that's why Ian lets Barley be there because there's a giant obstacle preventing them from finishing the ritual and meeting their dad. So at first, Barley offers to be the distraction so that Ian can meet his dad. But then Ian is like, I never knew him, I never met him, but I had you my whole life to look up to. But
Mhm.
there was a moment with dad that you missed, and I want you to have the opportunity to finish that. And I thought that
Mhm.
logic, that reasoning was really cool and really beautiful and selfless.
Mhm.
And
Oh, it's such a tremendous sacrifice, and it's not the traditional way that you think about heroic sacrifice at all,
yeah,
but
no,
it was its own version of that. The thing it reminded me most of is, and this movie has a lot of Indiana Jones in it,
uh,
but the moment when Henry
I love
Jones
this
Sr. Sees the Grail Knight at the end of Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade.
because the Grail is what he's been searching for his whole
Yeah.
life. It was his goal. It was his thing, and he gets so close, but he can't. He can't see the end. But then he sees the night. He sees it was all real, and yeah,
Mhm,
that's a beautiful, beautiful comparison. And thanks for reminding me of that moment.
mhm. Yeah, so that's Onward. We get a nice little reference to another popular '80s movie at the end with the roads. Let's get going. We don't need. Yeah, they fly off in Guinevere, or whatever. I guess he gets a nickname.
Guinevere is the name of
Gwen.
Barley's van that he put so much love
Yeah,
and care into repairing.
yeah. So Guinevere 2. I'm glad that because it's just a
Well,
van. Ultimately, it's easy to replace. Um,
yeah, but the sentimentality, that's irreplaceable.
that's true.
Well, you think it is, but then it's all happy anyway.
Mhm. Yeah. No, as Dan. This is directed by Dan Scanlon, who directed Monsters University, and a short based on Tow Mater. But it had kind of a similar feel. To a lot of sentimentality in this movie, but it doesn't delve too deeply into the lore and into like all the world building.
Yeah, it's not trying to build a world. That you wonder in your notes here if there should be a sequel or should be a
Hmm.
series. I mean, it's obviously not impossible that they can make a sequel, but I don't think they really set up for it. And I don't think
Yeah,
they're interested in that.
yeah.
A prequel, maybe, that actually does take place during the magical times might be
Well,
fun.
and the box office results over the weekend weren't tremendous. It made under 40 million domestically.
Still number one,
It
wasn't
was
it?
still number one, but it was the lowest adjusting for inflation of any Pixar film to date. So that kind of, unless it has really long legs, hopefully people will discover it and you know it'll remain in theaters for a while.
Yeah, there's a whole, and this bums me out so much, but there's a whole audience that the moment you show a sword or show a magical creature or indicate that this is a medieval timey movie, like
Mm,
just people will not go to
mm,
those films. So that's why, even though they wanted all that stuff and they wanted the elves and they wanted the magic and the swords and
mhm,
they wanted the film to be about all that stuff, they really had to couch the marketing in like, no, 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 just because they're blue and they have elf ears, like this is so human, this is so like fun, modern, real world for the
mhm.
family that everyone in the family can enjoy, not just the nerd in your family. This isn't a movie just for the nerd;
Yeah.
it's for everyone. Um,
Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
was for everyone, but definitely for the nerds.
Yeah. Well, and coronavirus, of course, complicating things right now too. Box office is
I
down. I mean, the whole
suppose.
economy is down. Yeah, and yeah, not so much in the U.S., but certainly globally. Dan Scanlon, I for the longest time I thought he was this makeup artist who did the creature effects for the new Star Wars trilogy. Um, the which
It's
is like
close relation.
no relation, I don't think. I just wanna it brought me into the subject of, like, what would happen if you crossed, an elf with a centaur or something? Because like,
Yeah,
a lot of the
that's why
creature
you can't
designs.
build the world for this movie because they
Yeah.
do things that have that, like, if you were to follow through, would have consequences that you would need to explain, and so they just kind
I
of.
don't know. A lot of the creature designs in the sequel trilogy are just kind of like these fleshy looking masses, and I kind of get it and like it because there are like lots of like weird hybrids in Star Wars. Just you don't see them as often, as often. They're not as interesting as like the pure, Twi'leks and Rhodians and Grans and Keldor, but
Yeah. Like what
yeah.
is, what's his what
Unkar Plutt.
Unkar like, what is Unkar Plutt? Like, that's not species
He's
anyone
just
cares about.
been exposed to radiation too
And
much
then
or something.
the dumb pig people in Rise of Skywalker that, like, were maybe supposed to be cute, but were rather horrifying is
Yeah,
the little pig elephant babies.
oh, yeah, yeah, they looked
Uh,
like gosh, what I don't even know. Oh, they look like, from Labyrinth or, no, The Dark Crystal, um, the,
oh, podlings.
podlings,
Yeah, except
podlings.
with wanky noses, wanky pig noses.
Yeah, the young ones look like podlings.
They
Um,
look a bit like in Willow when the witch casts a spell and turns everyone into pigs. They looked like the, like, half transition
yeah.
phase of that.
But, like, in Star Wars Rebels, you have Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, and then the Twi'lek, Hera Syndulla, yeah, like, they get together and have a kid, a half
Yeah, a
human, half
human Twi'lek hybrid is not hard to imagine. I mean, humans and
No.
pigs were born to be together, because they
Yeah.
are so similar, probably, I assume, genetically.
Mhm.
And the chiss, anything that, like, looks like a human but is just a different color or has a whack appendage, such
Yeah.
as like hair.
Alright.
Um,
Well, and yeah,
but a
I
centaur and an elf, that's something. That's a new level.
so anyways, until we get a Harry Potter series on HBO and they can really flesh out the world
Oh,
without magic.
is this true? True?
No, but inevitable, wouldn't you say? Like,
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time, actually, but I was thinking Netflix. I don't
w
want HBO to do Harry Potter.
they
HBO.
own, though, Warner Brothers, it's a Warner Brothers property, so it would be on HBO.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea Warner Bros. And HBO had anything. Okay, well,
Or Warner Brothers. HBO Max is the new streaming service that they're coming out with in a couple months.
oh, well, a new one. Why?
Yeah,
Does this
because
have?
it's just a bigger umbrella, covering, like, all of Warner Brothers, and HBO and all that.
Because when you think, I mean, everyone HBO is the, like, R-rated adult stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there isn't anything that is
I think
not that on HBO, right?
there is. I think they have, like, Sesame Street, new, episodes airing on HBO, and there's all kinds of things on HBO. They're just known for, yeah, pushing the boundaries on in all sorts of ways, shall we
Okay.
say. Like I just watched the new Stephen King series, Outsider, and that was super like refreshing on how it made me feel like I was literally watching a novel play out on screen
Hmm.
as it would in my head if I were reading it. Like that's always my fantasy when I'm reading a really good novel, is like imagining it playing out on a film
Because
or
if you're engrossed
yeah.
enough, you can pretty much see it happening as a film exactly
Mhm.
as you're reading it.
Yeah, but then when
Um,
they make the film adaptation, inevitably it's, you know, totally
it's whack.
different in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that's just due to the time constraints. But with
But
yeah,
every Harry Potter book, give it 7 episodes. Like, that would be
mhm.
so rad.
Or just as many episodes as you need
As many episodes as
for
you
the book.
need.
Yeah,
7 would be a fun start because 7 books, 7 episodes each,
yeah.
whatever. But yeah, give it, because I mean, you also wouldn't want to go too long. But I don't know. Like, is there any detail in Harry Potter that you'd want omitted? Not really.
Hmm.
If you had the time and the money,
Yeah,
every inch,
yeah. I mean,
get
it's just
Peeves
a
back in
matter.
there, get all the professors back in there, like every fun scene.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Just a matter of time, and I would really hope that they would bring back some of the John Williams themes.
mm,
He won't be around to do the score, but like at least
keep that theme.
some of the
Yeah, you have
themes
to.
certainly. But anyways, thanks so much, Dawson, for coming on talking fantasy animation, Pixar, and yeah, we'll see how regularly we can keep coming out with some new Thodcast episodes. But stay tuned to this feed, and we'll be plugging away when we get the time. Thank you so much, Dawson.
No,
Uh,
thank you.
can people find you anywhere online?
Oh, on Instagram, Dawson Delvanelke, and or my website, dawsonelke.com. Check
Yeah.
that out.
All right. Well, find us at Thoughtcast on Instagram, Twitter, thoughtcast.com, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Play,
Wow.
all the things. And you all have a wonderful day, a magical day, as we say in the Disney geekosphere, and a wonderful week.